There is one thing, one skill that you can learn that is so important for being able to break the cycle of bad and toxic relationships. This one thing can help you get out of a bad situation and find something that is good for you. What am I talking about? Discipline. Now I know you might be hearing this and going like, what does this have to do with me? What does discipline have to do with breaking the cycle of bad relationships? Well, it actually has everything to do with breaking the cycle of bad relationships. And here's why. Breaking the cycle of bad or toxic relationships is literally one of the hardest things that we can do. And so when we're talking about doing hard things, getting out of a situation like this, discipline is the thing that helps you do it. We can also call it determination, we can call it fortitude, we can call it grit. There's a lot of different words to describe this same quality. It's the ability to keep moving forward even though things are hard. So it is true that some people are naturally born with this grit, this determination, this discipline, but it's also 100% true that this is something that we can cultivate, that we can learn how to develop. And I know this because this was my experience. When I was younger, I did not have a lot of that grit, that determination. I was a really easygoing kid. I went with the flow. I was very laid back. I wasn't really into working hard unless it was something I was really interested in. So I was not naturally born with these qualities. This was something that I had to learn how to do, how to cultivate and practice. I actually learned how to cultivate this discipline when I started playing competitive sports when I was younger. So when I was younger, I was a swimmer. And when I started, I was not very good. I did have some natural ability, some natural talent. But like I said, I was not really that into working hard. But as anyone who plays sports finds out very quickly, if you don't work very hard, if you don't practice, you're not going to be very good. And I wanted to be good. So I had to learn how to do this. I had to learn how to keep going, keep swimming, even when I was tired, even when my muscles were sore and hurting, not to the point where I was injuring myself. But you know, if you're working out, if you're learning a sport, if you're training for something, your body hurts sometimes and you have to keep going. So I learned how to push myself. I learned how to, again, keep going even when I didn't necessarily want to. Because again, if you're doing any sort of sport, you know that you don't always feel like training. Sometimes you don't want to do it, but you have to do it anyway because you know that this is the thing that's going to help you to get better. So this was something that I cultivated within myself. It was not just naturally there. I had to practice it. And so this ability, this grit, this determination, this discipline, this actually came in so handy when I was trying to break the cycle of bad relationships. Because training to be a swimmer was hard, but also breaking out of this cycle of toxic relationships was hard. And you know what? Actually even harder. And so where I pulled from was that place of self-discipline, to stay away from my exes, to not go back to them, to be able to sit with the discomfort of what was coming up for me, the anxiety, the pain, the loneliness, the missing them, the craving them, to be able to sit with that and to know that, you know what, I have gotten through really difficult things before. I can do this too. So even though that experience was incredibly painful and incredibly scary too, I was able to stick with it because of that discipline that I had cultivated when I was younger. And this is something that you can do too. You can start to do this today. And as we go along here, I'm going to tell you specific things that you can do. And the reason we do this is because once you have this skill, once you have this pool, we could call it, of self-discipline, you have that to fall back on when things get hard. This is the thing that's going to pull you through breaking the cycle of bad relationships. Once you have it, you're always going to have it. It's not something you can lose. So it's so valuable to learn how to have some discipline. When you're dealing with something like a trauma bond, this is going to be the thing that helps you get through it. Because trauma bonds, man, they are incredibly painful. They are really hard to break free from. You're going to feel pulled back into that relationship a lot. And so if you can have that self-discipline, then that's going to be the thing, again, that you can fall back on, that you can pull from and remind yourself, I can do this. I have done so many hard things. Your brain remembers what it's like to go through those hard things and to stick with it. And that's what's going to help you to get through that trauma bond, breaking free from that trauma bond. So how do you do it? How do you start to cultivate discipline in your life? Do you have to start playing a competitive sport? No, you don't. I'm going to talk about how you can do this. What you can do is pick something in your life that you know you need to do. And you can start really small here. We're going to start with baby steps. So for you, maybe the thing is that every night you leave the dishes in the sink and you don't wash them until the next day. So maybe what you want to do is start to develop a practice of not doing that and washing the dishes as soon as you're done with them. We're not aiming really high here. We're starting with something very small. And so what you're going to do is every night you're going to make a promise to yourself. You're going to say, I am going to wash those dishes no matter what. I don't care if I'm really, really tired. I don't care if I don't feel like doing it. I don't care if there's other stuff going on that would be much more appealing to do. Doesn't matter. This is important to me. I'm going to do it. And then you start doing it. You pick one thing that's really doable for you. And I'm assuming for you, if this is your thing with the dishes, that it is doable. It's not too much of a leap to make to do this thing. And maybe this is the kind of thing that you have to remind yourself to do. Maybe you put a sticky note above the sink that reminds you do the dishes, or maybe you set an alarm on your phone that goes off at 7 every night to remind you to do the dishes. That's okay. The point is you're there and you're doing it. No matter what, like I said, even if you're tired and even if you don't necessarily feel like it. Because I don't know about you, but I don't know many people who actually feel like doing the dishes. It's not usually that fun of a thing. So this is how you cultivate that discipline. You do it even though you don't really want to, because you know ultimately that it does serve you. It's serving a purpose. It's helping you to be stronger and to cultivate that inner grit that I was talking about. So you start practicing with these little things. And once you get into the habit of, let's say, doing your dishes, because after you do it for a while, it will become a habit, then you can move on to something that's maybe a little bit harder. Like maybe the next goal for you is going to the gym twice a week. That's next level stuff. So that would be your thing. Once you know, okay, yeah, I've done this hard thing. I have done these dishes every single day, even if I didn't want to. Now I'm going to tackle exercise. I'm going to work on getting healthier and getting more fit. And I'm going to choose twice a week. And this is what I'm going to do, again, no matter what. Even if I don't feel like it, even if I'm tired, even if I don't necessarily want to do it, I'm going to go do it because this is for me. Now, what sometimes can happen is we can get sick or we can get injured, and then we actually can't do these things. Like, say you had decided to go to the gym, but then you got COVID. And so you actually can't. You actually do need to take some time off. That's okay. There are legitimate reasons for not being able to push through things necessarily. And so you're going to be the ultimate decision maker on this. Ultimately, you're going to know whether this is just an excuse or whether this is a really valid reason to not do something in the moment. So let's say you got COVID and you can't go to the gym. So you take that time, you rest, you heal, you get better. And then once you're better, you get right back on your discipline practice. You get right back on going to the gym. You don't judge yourself. You don't beat yourself up for not doing it. You just keep doing it. You get back on the horse, so to speak. And this can work for any of the things that you are working towards, just like the dishes. Maybe you got a really bad cold one night and you couldn't do it. Okay, no big deal. Again, you don't beat yourself up. You say, all right, I couldn't do it last night. The next night, I'm right back on it. I'm going to keep doing it. These seemingly small things that we're practicing here, these little disciplines that we're doing in our life, these actually have a really big impact on us psychologically. Because when the really big, really hard stuff comes up, like leaving a toxic relationship or an abusive relationship, we are reminded that, oh yeah, I can do really hard stuff because look what I've done so far. I've been able to wash my dishes every single night, even though I didn't want to. I've been able to go to the gym twice a week, no matter what. Those were really hard things for me. And your brain remembers that. It knows that you're capable now of doing these hard things. So when that hard thing comes up, like leaving a bad relationship, you are already primed with that knowing that, you know what, I can do this too. Yeah, it's gonna be hard, it's gonna suck for a while, it's gonna be really painful, but I can do it. So just know also that what I'm saying here when I'm talking about cultivating discipline, this does not mean that you don't stop and let yourself feel your feelings. That's not what I'm talking about here. This really has to do with your ability to stick with something, your ability to make a decision like, you know what, this relationship is not working for me, and I'm not gonna go back on that. I'm gonna stick with it. I'm gonna do my best to not talk to this person and move forward because I have that discipline within me. Once you have that discipline, and it's 100% something that you can cultivate, you don't have to be naturally born with it, this will serve you in so many different areas of your life. I can give you an example here of the work that I do here. Like, starting a business is actually really difficult. Starting a practice of working with people, it's hard because when you first start out, nobody knows you from anyone. Like you're a complete stranger. Nobody is liking your post. Nobody is paying very much attention to you. And that's how it is for most people starting out. And so you have to have that inner discipline to keep going, even when it's really hard. And that's what I've done here. Most people weren't watching my videos when I first put them out, but I loved this work. It was something I wanted to do. And I knew I have been able to do really hard things. This is another one of those hard things. I'm just going to keep on going. So again, it's a skill that can serve you throughout all areas of your life. You will not regret cultivating that discipline. And this discipline also helps me now when I do have this full-time business of helping people. There are some times when I don't necessarily want to show up here. Like, it's hard sometimes. And I know most of you probably feel that way when you're going to a job or something like that. Sometimes I'm tired. Sometimes I would rather just take a nap or go on vacation. But I don't do that because this is, again, what I've decided to do for myself. I love helping people. So I pull from that discipline that I cultivated when I was younger, and I do it. Again, I show up even when I don't want to and even when it's sometimes hard to do so. It's that discipline that keeps me showing up here because ultimately this serves the bigger picture for my life. It's not like I'm sacrificing something or abusing myself. No, absolutely not. This serves the bigger goal that I have for myself, for my life, and also it serves the world. So it's doing so many good things at once. So if this is speaking to you and you know that you need to start to cultivate some discipline in your life, my challenge for you is to pick one thing. Pick one simple thing. For you, maybe it's doing the dishes. Maybe it's every time you do the laundry, your thing that you're going to do is you're going to fold it right away. You're not going to let it sit there. Pick one thing and start doing that. Make it a practice. And let me know in the comments what you guys are choosing to do, and let me know how it goes. I would really love to hear how your discipline practice is coming along. If you're wondering why it's sometimes so hard to leave a bad relationship, I have a video for you here, and click here to subscribe. I come out with new videos every week for breaking the cycle of bad relationships and finding real love.